So one of the things we want to talk about this week is identification. So this idea comes from a guy named Kenneth Burke, who was a pretty important rhetorical theorist. The idea of identification is finding reasons to identify with someone else, like finding common ground. The fancy word for it is consubstantiality, which I know it's a big word. You don't have to remember that. But the idea of it is finding common ground. And there's two reasons for it that he's talking about. So one of them is that this is a strategy for getting people to trust you and want to hear what you have to say if you're trying to persuade them. Because people are more likely to listen to someone that they see as being like them and having something in common with them. And so it's by including things about yourself or behaving in ways that people identify with, that's how you're getting them to find that common ground, that consubstantiality. And that is one strategy for persuading. And then the other way he's addressing it is that it's actually the purpose of persuasion is to persuade people to connect with what you're arguing for and see common ground with the idea. So it's about connection. The flip side is that sometimes persuasion is used for the opposite, and it's used to discourage connection, to turn another group into an enemy. So sometimes it gets turned into something of like, here, identify with the people in this group, but don't identify with the people in that group. Those people we don't like. Those people are our enemies. So sometimes it gets flipped for sort of a darker purpose than I think he intended for it. So it has the power to do both, but it's a really important undercurrent in any kind of persuasion that you do. It is both a strategy and a purpose. So when it comes to this assignment, you're going to be wanting to get the audience to relate to your experience. So the reason that we're doing the assignment this way, aside from just it's a requirement that everybody's doing for assessment, is that you can actually sort of be practicing this story over the next few years, keeping it in the back of your mind and constantly revising it. Because when it comes time to apply for jobs, you need to stand out. You need to make yourself into somebody that the people who are hiring are like, I want that person here. I want to be around them. I want to work with them. And you do that by making yourself more fully into a person in a really short period of time. Because when you know people for a while, they start to become more and more real people to you, and you know more about them, and there's more to either identify with and see common ground with, or at least understand. But in a really short period of time, like just like a cover letter and a resume and maybe an interview, you don't have as much time to make yourself stand out as that like fully realized person that people are like, I like them, I want to be around them. And so doing a story well in a really short period of time can be a good strategy to make yourself stand out as a person and make them want to follow up and learn more about you and hopefully want to add you to their team. And so learning how to do this and then perfecting the story over the next few years as you're getting ready to go out into the world to apply for jobs or internships and things like that. You want to make sure that you've got this story down and you're being really intentional with all of your details. And so in this case, you want to get the audience to relate to your experience and start to see you more fully as a person with like a past and with passions and interests and things like that, but do it really quickly. So you're going to be including detail, and the detail is where the identification comes from, especially like letting people into your head with what you're imagining and hoping for and things like that, like letting them understand how you're reacting to things and what you're expecting from things. That is where you start to really become a person in the audience's mind. So you're going to be wanting to be really attentive to which details to include versus which ones you could leave out because they're not helping the story, because remember, short period of time. But also you can figure out like how to start the story in an engaging way. We'll talk about structure in a separate video, but you want to be drawing your attention to getting them to see you as a person and connect with you. And so you want to make sure your details are helping do that. You're answering a question about why did you choose to do this or why didn't you choose to do this, but you also want to be including details that are about you and helping create that sense of identification. So that's what you want to be thinking about, or one of the several things you want to be thinking about as you're writing this essay.